Okay, we're live. Hello, everybody,
Hello, everyone.
and welcome to our Q&A live stream today.
How are you today?
Hope everybody's getting ready for spring. I know I am. We got lots of snow here.
Like this much.
So let's just jump right into the questions. And the first question has to do with the Mars exploration project going on. And Eric is asking, I wonder if what happens to our psychical body when we travel to Mars? And also, what happens when we pass over on Mars? Do we return to the psychical counterpart of Earth? Yes, of course. If you're traveling anywhere, your psychical body goes with you. If your psychical body becomes detached in a spontaneous or conscious exomatosis, then what happens is the material body goes to sleep. It doesn't die. There's still a connection to it, but it goes to sleep. So those people who go to the moon, who go to, if they go to Mars, when they go to Mars, they will be taking their psychonoetical body with them because they can't do otherwise. There's no other choice on that one. Now, what happens if they're on the Mars and die? Yeah, they go back to the psychical counterpart of Earth and continue on with their life at another higher level of existence. So we have to understand we belong to the Earth. I know there's a lot of destruction going on by people who think the Earth belongs to them, but the truth is we belong to the Earth. The life stream that we call humanity belongs to this planet Earth, and we stay on this planet for our entire process to self-realization. Now, let's see here. Here's another question about the Mars thing. It started him thinking about the point about how far. The point is, the human body is limited. Is the human body limited in how far it can travel away from the Earth? Because the Earth's psychical body has a distance limit. So my question is, has anyone ever heard Daskalos say what that distance limit is? No, he never said it, but I can tell you. And what Daskalos would say is our psychical body extends beyond our material body, obviously. The psychical body of the Earth extends many thousands of kilometers away from the Earth. And then he also said something else that gives us enough information to make this distance estimation. He says the psychical body of the moon extends many thousands of miles from the moon, but does not touch the psychical body of the Earth. And the same thing with the etheric double of the psychical body in moon and Earth. Most of the time, not always, but most of the time, the etheric double of the psychical bodies of Earth and moon do not touch. But there is one time it touches, and that's in perigee. It's when the moon is the closest to the Earth. Now, that distance, when the etheric double of the psychical bodies touch each other at perigee, is 225,000 miles, or something like 360 some thousand kilometers away from each other. So the distance they have to move is less than 27,000 miles. It's less than 42,000 kilometers. But there's probably a great deal of difference in there. So it's probably really the distance, and now I'm talking about the etheric double, which isn't extending as far away from the body of the planet or moon as is the psychical body of the planet or moon. So there's some distance in there. I would just say it's something like, maybe 250,000 miles is where this boundary lies. So there's a distance between when they touch and when they don't touch. Now, what happens when they touch? Well, as Daskalos teaches, and I can confirm it from my own direct experience, moon end up basically being kind of like a maximum security prison for the basically criminally insane. Those people who come to Earth and cause so much havoc and so much damage to each other, the Hitlers, for example, those kind of people. They don't go into the psychical, when their material body passes over or dies, they don't pass over to the psychical counterpart of Earth. Why? Because they cause a lot of trouble, and they would continue to try to cause trouble on Earth. They would try to extend their vibrations back down to Earth. So what happens out of the mercy of God is they're taken to the psychical counterpart of the moon. There are other places in the universe, but this is ours. This is the maximum security prison where they're lovingly watched over and cared for. And the whole point is for them to stop vibrating so violently, so hostilely, before they take their next incarnation. And they stay there until they stop vibrating that way. They, of course, in a psychical shell, whether you're on Earth or on the moon, you create elementals. So like a mass murder, he's just going to create more elementals of people and try to murder those elementals because he doesn't know he's passed over. Wherever we go, we're creating our reality all the time on Earth or in the psychical world. And so the archangels watch over them, and they try to wait till start to visualize the scene, imagine they're going to kill their victim. The archangels dissolve it. And it's kind of like a child building sandcastles by the sea. The wave comes in, it takes them away. So this gives them a chance to calm down to where they don't have those hostile feelings. Then they can reincarnate again on Earth, not exactly with a clean slate, but with a better position not to make the same mistake, in a better position to make better choices. But they will have to make those same choices they failed in previous lifetime. Now, as Daskalos tells us, when the moon and etheric double of the psychical body touches the etheric double of the Earth's psychical body, there's a connection made. That's when there's they're touching now. Etherically, they're touching. And sometimes these people escape during this connection. And the reason they escape is because they still want to be back on Earth. They want to feel the Earth vibrations. So they somehow make a connection there. And I think most of it's subconscious. I don't think they know the way to do it. It's just their strong attachments are pulling them to try to reconnect with the Earth and extend their vibrations just like they did before. And this is why you'll notice on Earth, sometimes people with a loose connection to their psychical body, they can become more irritable. They can do things that during that time they wouldn't normally do during the rest of the time because they're influenced by these beings. But they can't influence an innocent person. They can't influence somebody that doesn't vibrate in somewhat of the same harmony with them. And you'll notice in police reports when there's a full moon, and which is usually, not always, but it's usually when the Earth is closest to the moon. Mm-hmm. You'll see the police have a lot more trouble. Hospitals have a lot more injuries. There's an influence coming from them. So don't go outside and look at the moon and meditate and think the full moon and meditate and think this is a good thing. If you're innocent, it won't hurt you. But if you have any kind of things where they can vibrate in harmony, if they vibrate in harmony, they can influence you a little bit. So. Aki?
Yes. Well, maybe we'd better proceed to the next question. But as a proof, my younger brother is a policeman in Osaka City, but he didn't know about this teaching and the truth. When I mentioned that, he really said that during the period of the full moon, oh, that's why we got a lot of crime. So. Just like from the small comment from my younger brother, we have a proof of it. Shall we proceed?
Okay.
Maybe he talks about.
Well, the next question is, what's your favorite food in a movie? Do you even watch movies? Do you even eat food? Well, usually we don't give out this kind of information, but I will tell you, my favorite food is a masala dosa. It's about this big. It's a crate
Indian
about this
food.
big, full of potatoes and spices. It's a great Indian dish. And what's your favorite food? Movie? Food?
Yes. May I answer?
Please.
Okay. I basically don't eat very much, but my favorite food is probably yogurt or kombucha. I love kombucha. And we basically eat vegetable. But when we dine out, I love to eat fish occasionally.
Yeah, I'm a pure vegetarian, basically. I don't really eat fish. But anyway, now the favorite movie. Now, this is a good question, I think, because one of my favorite movies really, I think, has done the best that any movie can do in depicting the worlds beyond. And this movie is called What Dreams May Come, and it stars Robin Williams. It's an old movie, but it's really well done. It was written by a spiritual writer who used to write spiritual books in the 70s, and then he came out with this movie, I don't know, in the 90s sometime. And it's a good description because it shows how we create our own world and after we pass over, and how that world works. It has many good teachings in there of how the world works. That world works. It's not totally perfect, but it's a very good job. It's a very good depiction of all this. And it also depicts Robin Williams' character with his wife, who she starts going down. They lose their children, and instead of just going on with life, she just feels sad and gets depressed and pressed. And pretty soon she gets so low in vibration, he can't be with her any longer. And then he passes over. She commits suicide, and he can't help her. He wants to help her, but he can't. He finally realizes he can't help her. And this is a great teaching of what it's like with relationships in this world. Sometimes, Desclos would often say, no one can force a person to stay in his hell if he wants to leave it. Which the corollary is, no one can pull themselves somebody else out of a hell if that person doesn't want to leave them. So we have this constant thing where he's trying to help her in the other world, and she doesn't. She's just closed in, and then what's she closed in by? Elementals. So I would suggest you watch that movie. That's a good movie. It's not perfect. Did you like it? I can't remember if you liked it.
He loves movie, and to be very honest, we are the researcher of truth. He loves comedy show.
Yeah, it's good to laugh. Very good medicine.
Yes, I love the. I don't watch movie very much, but I like a documentary type of a movie rather than the fiction.
I just want to say one last thing about this woman being in his wife being in a hell. What is a hell? Well, true hells, I think, are really here on Earth when we get into these things, but it's the same kind of thing. But when we pass over to the psychic world, it's a great thing that happens. Yeah, we talk about the lower 14 psychical planes being the place where the hell worlds are, and the higher planes are where the paradises are. But the way that whole world works is it's designed for us to calm down, like the moon, only on a smaller scale, to calm down between incarnations so we can be prepared to enter a new incarnation more freshly and not so influenced by the thoughts and feelings and experiences we had in the previous incarnation. Now, the laws change. You don't have gravity anymore. You don't have to pay bills unless you imagine you have to pay bills. So we're creating that shell hell or shell paradise all the time. In fact, we're creating it right now in this life. We're preparing that shell hell or shell paradise we will eventually pass over. But the way it works on the other side is it's the law of attraction and repulsion is the number one law. We have lots of law here. The main law here is the law of cause and effect. But there, the main law is the law of attraction and repulsion. We have it here too, but it's really powerful on the other side. Because when we don't want something, it's not going to be in our shell on the other side. If whatever we want, it will be there. And Desclos used to say, you'll have the same house if you want it. And in that house, will have everything you liked about that house and none of the things you didn't like about it. So this is showing the law of attraction and repulsion is what's creating the reality for us there. It's sort of doing it here too, but it really does it there, which means that a person passing over may be in what we would call a hell, but it would be his paradise. Now, the best example of that, I think, is Desclos' story about his friend that used to stay out all night drinking and gambling in a bar, a smoky bar. It was a really bad environment, like a hell world. And he could never get the guy to not do that on the earth, but the guy passes over. And so after some time, I think it was 20 years or something, he goes, visits him. And the guy is in exactly the same little smoky bar, gambling and drinking, doing exactly the same thing. Now, Daskalo said, oh, come out, look at this. And he takes him to this beautiful place and shows him this paradise. And the guy says, leave me alone. I want to go back. So was his hell a hell? For us, it would be a hell. For him, it was this paradise. So one man's paradise is another man's hell. That's the way it is on the psychical plane.
Shall we go next? About the comedy, he really loves to watch a comedy show.
I'm going to move on.
But I really love and respect his comedy show time because, after working hard, after meditating, he balances himself with comedy show because we are human beings. We need aspect. We need to enjoy our human life. So laughing, as he said, laughing is very important and balance our human life and spiritual life. Both are important.
Okay, the next question is from Jeff. In a recent meditation about death, Aki mentioned that someone can get stuck in the etheric double of our material body. Could you talk more about what that would cause that and how to get unstuck? Also, could you please elaborate on what's involved in determining where we go after death of our material bodies? Yeah, basically this thing about being stuck in the etheric double of our material body. The material body dies, and not everyone passes immediately over to the psychical plane. So they stay in their etheric counterpart of their material body. Material body's dead. They're not in that. They're just in the etheric counterpart. But that means they're in the etheric counterpart of the material world. So a lot of times they'll be in their own homes. And they'll try talking to their loved ones, and nobody pays attention to them, and it confuses them. It gets scary. The archangels try not for this to happen, but some people, and the reason it happens is because of their strong attachments, strong material attachments to people, places, and things. So they come around, but the people aren't noticing them, and it freaks them out. They go for a door and they walk right through the door and they don't understand what's happening because they've never trained. They've never studied what actually happens once you pass out of your material body. Those who do know it can stay around and bless people and do things like that. But the common person, if they get stuck, it freaks them out. Now, they're stuck, but they can't stay stuck forever because it's the divine law for us to pass over into the psychical planes and continue our incarnation there. And so it's a little bit like, after all these kind of weird experiences, nobody's paying attention to them. They can't open doors. They can't do anything. They just feel like I don't belong here. And they start to let go. And then that just naturally takes them over to the other side. Or we could give an analogy. It's like, if you're swimming next to a waterfall, you can do that for a while, but not forever. Sooner or later, you're going to go over the edge. And it's sort of like that. There's a draw that pulls the self-awareness into the psychical world to continue their life in a higher level. And the last part of the question was, let me answer this for a minute. What's involved in where we go after the death of our material body is every thought, every intention, every motivation, every feeling you have, every desire you have here, you're creating. I mean, the psychical worlds aren't someplace else we have to travel in a spaceship to them. They're right here. They're just at a higher dimension, and our material eyes don't perceive them. Our material ears don't hear them. We need the super senses to touch these realms that are right here. So when you're hating somebody, you're creating your shell on the other side at the same time. When you're loving, you're creating a beautiful shell, transparent maybe much more transparent, obviously, than there. And we go to the shell that we're in harmony with. That is the mechanism that takes us there. So however you've been living while you're on Earth, the moment your material body dies, you don't change one bit. You're still the same personality with same fears, same hopes, same dreams, same thoughts. But so that is like, it's a vibration that attracts you right to this place. No archangel takes you there. God doesn't put somebody in hell and somebody else in heaven. We put ourselves there by how we're acting now in this world.
So after material death, we sleep, we go into kind of sleep condition. And when we awake, we will find ourselves in the psychoanalytical shell in each one of us, and the matching, the vibration, which we vibrate in the material world. So, as I said in my meditation, sometimes people are too heavy to transfer their psychoanalytical body into the, it's not enough light to transfer it. In that case, for example, if people has a lot of attachment for something, some particular things, or accident, passed over by the accident, so they don't know the fact that they passed on. In that case, they just wonder an aesthetic counterpart of the material world. And for a certain time, they remain in there, but they won't, be forever. Some helper will come, and they're gonna transfer into the proper psychoanalytical shell in the psychoanalytical world eventually.
Okay, this one's from Bertold. He had to leave, but I'm going to answer his question here. And it is, what's the relationship between mind, here we mean the mind, not our mind, and its total wisdom, and the level at which the ideas, now he's talking about the archetypal ideas, excite in an unexpressed form. What this means is, we often say when we talk about the divine mind, if we will, it's the divinity is motion with nothing moving. So this is what he means by ideas that are excited. There's some degree of activity, but it's not being expressed. So once these ideas, archetypal ideas, get expressed in forms that we know, trees, plants, all these things, then it makes sense. Then there's motion with movement. But up in the original state, in the causal state, the conception is motion with nothing moving. And I know that's hard to understand, but that's the teaching on it. And let's see, where'd he go? There it is.
Yes.
I've got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's saying, I think it's the noetic, not the noetical, the noetic level. Is the highest level of the mind.
Yes.
Formless supersubstance. And in the formless supersubstance are these archetypal ideas. Then he asks, isn't the mind already contains the ideas, since one of the characteristics is absolute wisdom? So, yeah, of course. In our prayer, one line of our prayer, we say, manifesting yourself, we're talking to God, manifesting yourself in yourself as the total wisdom and the almightiness. Now, there are three aspects to God, to life: total wisdom, total love, or total goodness, and total power. So this divine wisdom, this total wisdom, what is this total wisdom? Well, it's the circles of possibilities. What's the total power? The total power is the force that keeps every single life form in its own circle of possibilities. An apricot tree doesn't jump in and become a deer. A deer doesn't become a human being. An ape doesn't become a human being. It doesn't work that way. Each one of these life forms on Earth has a very definite and fixed, unchangeable circle of possibilities. It's born, it grows old, it does this, it does that, its body passes over. So that's what the total wisdom is. That's what the total wisdom is. It's the divine plan, but specifically expressed as the circles of possibilities. We create our circles of probabilities after that.
Yes. Mind is expressed from the absolute beingness, which is manifested God. The manifested God has three aspects. And one is, as he said, total wisdom. One is total love and goodness. One is love, total power. So yes, of course, in mind, it contains, it has all the divine aspect in it.
And the final part of his question is, in our sixth promise, and he's talking about the 7 promises of the researcher of truth, the sixth promise is to meditate and contemplate daily absolute beingness. How should we do it? Where can we get a pendant like, okay, that's the second question. How can we do it? Yeah. You just do it. It's introspection, it's observation, it's contemplating absolute beingness. So you might, let's see, what would be a good example? The point of we're contemplating, meditating, we're trying to understand God. We're trying to understand life. Life and God at the top level are the same. Not the expression of life we see around us, but life itself that gives life to these expressions around us. It's God. So we're trying to do that. Why are we contemplating and meditating? We're contemplating, let's say, the reason we're doing it, the rest of the line isn't there, is to coordinate with him. So we align with him. We get the absolute, we get connected in line with him. So let's try to do this now. What's the absolute beingness? Total love. Let's just start with that one. Total love. And what's that mean? Well, of course, God loves all. God is love. But as Aki said, total love is also the total goodness, which means that everything created, everything, I know it's going to be hard to understand this because we suffer a lot, but we suffer because we don't understand. But everything works for good. Even in a bad experience. Say you go downtown here and you don't lock your car and somebody comes and steals your car. Well, that's a horrible experience, but it works for good. It wakes you up to say, oh, I'm in a not so good neighborhood. Maybe I should lock the car. Or a child touches a hot stove. Oh, that's a bad experience, but it works for good. Because that way the child won't continue getting hurt by keep touching super hot things. So that's the total thing. So we want to contemplate that. And we want to try to understand that we are a part of that total absolute goodness, the total love. Go ahead.
In this promise, it says to meditate and to contemplate daily absolute beingness with the objective of total coordination of my thought, desires, words, and actions with its divine will. Divine will. This divine will creates everything, all creation. Likewise, as a microcosm, human beings are creating every day, every moment, emotion and thought. We are the creator too, as a miniature of God. In this sense, I understand this, the meaning of this promise. We are the creator too, but we should coordinate our creation, which means our thought, emotions, and behaviors in our daily life, to coordinate them all with the highest divine will, which means total wisdom, total love, and total goodness, and total power. This is the way of my understanding.
Amy asked a question here. Since the light shield, she's talking about Aki's meditation, about creating this oval of light around us that disenergizes negative elementals before they affect us. She's asking, since the light shield blocks disenergized negative elementals before they can reach us, will I lose my ability to be aware energetically that someone is angry with me because that elemental is blocked? Or am I only blocked from the negative effect of the elemental? Is it correct to think that the light shield will help with my anxiety because I will not be receiving negative elementals? Okay, well, let's say yes to this. Yes, in the sense that this light shield is a semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable means some things can get in and some things can't. What can't get in are the negative ones. Loving elementals sent to you, you're going to get them. Don't worry. But does the light shield, if it blocks elementals, does it block my awareness that someone's angry at me? No. It's like wearing a raincoat. Does wearing a raincoat block your awareness that it's raining? No, it just keeps you from getting wet. So the shield keeps us from getting negatively affected by these negative elementals that are sent to us. And they're sent to us so subconsciously most of the time. And we're in a sea of them. We have to learn how to protect ourselves from to be healthy. And now she's asking, will it help with her anxiety? Because I won't be receiving the negative elementals. Yes and no. If your anxiety is coming because you're afraid of life, this isn't going to help you. If your anxiety comes because you feel people not liking you and that makes you feel anxious, yes, that's going to help you for sure. It just depends where your anxiety is rooted in.
That's why in this meditation, in this exercise, we cleanse our body first completely, and visualizing our body as a pure snow white. Cleanse everything first and expand the radiation of the whiteness up to the size of the light shield. So if anxiety is inside of us, doesn't work. But let's start to work on in our body first and expand it. Then it's gonna work. And once, yes, of course, once we work on this exercise, we can reduce the anxiety, which is going to create which is going to create anxiety at the end from outer cause. Of course, we can reduce it because we are always in peace in the light shield if we cleanse ourselves perfectly.
Chris asks, it is mentioned in Gates to the Light that we must never send balls of light to anyone unless they've asked us specifically for our help. But what if we know someone who could use the help? Maybe even just some safe white light. But they do not even know that they may ask us for help. I mean, I don't walk around with a signpost saying I'm a seeker of truth and I send light balls. Very few people know this side of me. It is sad and a little frustrating in a way. Have I misunderstood something? For example, my beautiful nephew, 8 years old, has terrible nightmares. I assume these are caused by elementals. May I try to help sending him healing elementals or shields for him, even though he has not asked? May I send protection shields for those I love without their express permission? What can we send without others asking? Thank you so much. This is a very good question. We get this question a lot because the way it's stated in the book. But I'll tell you what Daskalos has told. Well, first of all, what's an elemental? You want to send an elemental. What is an elemental? An elemental is a prayer, but it's a much more powerful prayer than just a thought or words because we're giving it a form, a power, and a purpose. Can't we send a prayer for somebody we care about? Of course we can. This thing about without asking for help is when we're really like interfering with like a karmic effect. Like say a person has a liver problem and they've got a bad liver and something's going on. That's karma. That's called the law of cause and effect based on actions they had done in previous lifetime. And this is the lords of karma think this is the best way to work it out with the liver disease, for example. Liver's over here. So in this case, we as a personality should not try to influence or affect it because we don't know what the law of karma is doing and why. We don't have any idea about that. We just know the symptom of it. We don't know. If we could trace back to the cause, then we'd be a little bit more informed. So in this case, without real knowledge of it, we don't as a personality, we do not have the right to interfere and start working on that kind of a thing. We definitely have the right to send a prayer and wish good health, put light around a person. That's just a prayer, but we're visualizing it more, so it's a little stronger. We're not trying to coerce this person. We're not trying to get them to do something or not do something. We're just sending a light blessing. And then that can be taken in by the archangels or even their own personality if they're aware enough, and it can help. Now, can we work on somebody's gallbladder who hasn't asked us? Not as a personality, but as a soul, yes. But we're not quite at that level yet. So it's best on those kind of cases to wait for someone to ask. But for the things like you're talking about, you said your nephew has nightmares and you assume they're caused by elementals. Yes, they are. Whose elementals? Most of the time it's their parents. They see if the parents have trouble and create negative elementals between them, kids have these nightmares. And they'll wake up shrieking, screaming, because they see the form of the elementals the parents are sending to each other. Because the child, especially 8-year-old child, is still in the aura. They live in the aura, the psychical counterpart of their parents. They believe what their parents tell them that they believe. So there's this real super connection when they're young children like this. So it's the parents' elemental. Dascalos always told us that. And I've had cases myself where it was proven. Yeah, I think I answered. Please.
Yes, Chris. Light shield. Yes, we can create a light shield for someone else. Please create a light shield for your nephew and surround him with this light shield. We can create a light shield to someone else, but we can't create a 5-pointed star for the protection for other people because it's a little bit personal and relating to the karmic things. So we can do that. But general healing ball, like a white healing ball, general happiness, healthy health for 3 bodies, that's okay to send even without permission. Even a whitish pink light, love, whitish golden light for kind of reason, whitish blue light for calmness or peace. It's okay to send without having permission. But we need a permission, as he said, for the specific healing relating their own karmic reason or their own personal matter. We can't do it because it's interfering their personal things. We can't do that. But the person, when the person really wish and open the heart and ask to be healed, now it's time for us to work on it. So this is a clear, threshold between what we can work for and what we can't work for. So I have one more things to say. Oh yes. So the barometer, how we can discern it is creating a light shield for someone or general healing light ball is from our care as a human being and as our expression, as our divine love to care and love someone else. In that case, not interfering into the personal case. In that case, we can send healing ball or we can create a light shield.
Next question is from Manuel. Hi, Manuel. He asked a question. Can we talk about more of the grace of God and its possible influence in the circle of probabilities and possibilities? According to some Christian and Jewish Kabbalah belief books, the purpose of evil is a force, an adversary to man, to have the function of training him in a way to ascend to their light and God. Okay. Well, yeah, okay. Let me just take the grace of God question. Now, I know what the teachings say about the grace of God, but I decided to look up, see what the world thought of it. I Googled it, right? So this is what I found. First result. Grace is God choosing to bless us rather than to curse us as our sin deserves. What? God does not curse anybody. We curse ourselves by the way we treat other people, but God never curses. No archangel curses. That's just an illusion. But this is what's being taught grace is. He should give us a slap, but he decides to give us, something else. So he says his benevolence to the undeserving. Well, I don't like that at all. I don't know about what you think, but God doesn't do this. This is completely a misunderstanding in my book. But I'll just tell you what the teachings say, what Daskalos has said, what I heard Daskalos say myself. Grace, he said, we can understand that a little bit in the sense that maybe we've been doing some good work and we deserve like a favor or there's some connection to what we're doing. Now, in the internet, they're saying it's not, but I'm just telling you what Daskalos said and what I feel from my own experience too. The grace comes from there's some connection to our behavior. We can find maybe some connection to it. But what he says, mercy, there is no understanding. Nobody understands mercy. It's beyond any understanding. It's not that this person has done something, they deserve a little help, they deserve a little favor. No, it just comes and nobody understands that. He doesn't understand that. I certainly don't understand it. But I think we definitely could say it's probably one of the highest expressions of love. It's forgiving the unforgivable thing in somebody else. So then he goes on to say, the purpose of evil is like an adversary to man. Yeah, Daskalos said that, same thing. He said we should think of the devil or the adversary or Satan or whatever name you want to put on it as our strength trainer, like in a gym. You go to there and they make you work really hard, doing the muscle exercise and all that, and it makes us stronger. In the same way, facing the adversity we experience. Now, it doesn't come undeserving. We usually have done something that causes this adversity to come to us. But the overcoming of it is exactly what we need. And this is why we say, whatever your life experiences are right now, whatever you're having right now, is exactly what you need for your next step forward. None of this is by accident. You're not born in a family that you don't need to have the lessons from that family. You're not born in a place on earth that isn't important for you to be there, for you to learn the next lesson, for you to make the next step forward. This is back to the total goodness. Everything that's happening to us, even if it's a bad experience, is designed to help us become freer from the experience. Now I'm going to leave this other one here as last part of it. So what happens with some humans that incarnation after incarnation work for evil forces? Could it be that this group of human beings will be left behind as retarded beings, as anthropophobic? I guess Rudolf Steiner said this, and don't end up evolving to the archangelic state? Well, yes and no. Yeah. Back into the fiery furnace. This is Christ was talking about. Back into the incarnation. The fiery furnace is incarnation. And yeah, they're retarded. If they don't get it, they follow the dark forces and listen to the shadows instead of to the truth of unity. They'll just keep reincarnating until they get that. Will they be lost forever? Absolutely no way. St. Paul talks about the restoration of everything. In our system, we talk about the restoration of everything. We talk about the archangels of mercy who take the demons. Now, the demons are elementals created by the fallen ones, not fallen angels, the fallen ones. They create elementals. And if we vibrate in harmony with those elementals, those demon elementals, we can be influenced, but they can never take possession. God does not allow the elementals of fallen ones to take possession of a human being, plant, or animal. What takes possession that we read about in the Bible is the human in nature elementals, the human in nature demons that we have created. Those definitely take possession of people And why? Because we have a responsibility, because we created them. There's a cause and effect thing there. But the demons, created by the fallen ones, do not affect a human being. So the restoration of everything is even these demons, even these fallen ones, get encompassed by an archangel of mercy, and they're held by them. But there's 7, I don't want to go too far into this, but there's 7 levels of these fallen ones. And the worst one, I won't mention his name, but the worst one is involved in murders and misunderstandings between people. That's what says he does his work good to make people misunderstand each other, especially when people might do some good together. So that's what we really have to watch out for. But even the archangels, they'll hold them for centuries inside their vibrations, but they don't do the bottom one. They only do the top one. And what happens is these demons start to pretty soon figure out, these fallen ones start to pretty soon figure out, really, this isn't a good thing for me to be doing. And so the last 2, the top 2, they've figured it out so much that now they don't even express anything. The other ones are expressing things to, feel evil, hate, feel anger. You deserve to be angry at that person. That's the influence from the lower ones. But the top 2, they've stopped making any negative expression because they want to go back. They realize they've done a mistake and they want to go back. And so this archangel of mercy puts his arms around them and holds them. And Daskalos describes seeing smoke come up out of this thing. And then after centuries, who knows how long, the archangel unfolds his like this, and they come out an angel. Yeah. They're restored. This is the restoration of everything. So if that's happening to the worst of the fallen ones, to the one with the 7 veils on it, it's going to happen to every human being. But we may have to go back and be retarded for a while. It is retarded to serve the dark side.
Yes. Without knowing how long it's going to take, Archangel of Love and Mercy hold the first or second layer of evil, the shadows. Just hold it, embrace them. And when time comes, they release it as angel. In that way, all universes is maintained and with total love, like that way. And our teaching says evil shadow, whatever, Lucifer, for example. Lucifer is within us, within everybody. And he is in charge of law of cause and effect and giving us the human experiences. So as the manual says, we learn from all negative shadow things to grow up.
This next question is about one of the previous lessons on spiritual awakening called Lost in the Heavens. He says, listening to this wonderful lesson, you talk about desires. Are desires also including our instincts that form desires? I'm a little bit confused. Maybe I'm missing something here, but it seems like listening to the lesson that all kinds of desires, including human, animal instincts, come from elementals or systems of elementals, such as egregores. Sorry. Well, I'll go back to the first part and talk about that. Yeah, sure. The instincts that basically are the most ancient of elementals, create the most ancient of elementals. And they're really 5 in nature. And they are the 5 S's: sleep, desire for sleep, desire for sex, desire for sustenance, food, shelter, and survival. All these things. Now, an elemental is created by a thought, feeling, or action, right? So this instinct to survive, it may have really been super valuable to us as a caveman. Say, oh no, I got to take it for me. I got to protect me. This is mine. Maybe that was really okay for a caveman. It was okay for the caveman in his environment. But today, to think so selfishly that everything has to be about you because you want to survive, it's time to let that go. So, but surely the acting out and the impulses of instincts create desires, and those are desire-based elementals. Now, when he says either come from human instinct elementals or systems of elementals that he calls, and I think I'm pronouncing this right, egregores. Egregores is a reference to like what's been written as the most illuminated fallen angel. This is back to the top two. But again, remember, they're not fallen angels. Once a spirit being has become classified, has chosen to follow the will of God and become classified as an archangel, it's impossible for them to fall. What happens is before the classification as either human beings or archangelic beings, some spirit beings choose not to go through it. These are the fallen ones. They go off to the side. They don't want to follow, they don't want to go through the classification of the divine will, basically. But because God gave every spirit being, the first thing he gave is free will, that gives them the ability to do this. So they've gone off to the side, and by doing that, they're deprived of the creative power of the Holy Spirit. They can't even create a bug. They couldn't create an insect. All they can do is create negative influence on us that serves as our training, remember? So they're not fallen angels at all. So that's that one. You have one? Here's one from Laura. I know the teachings often say the importance of meditation and exercises for short periods of time at regular intervals, as much as possible. Does it begin to happen that some will feel called to longer periods? And how will do you find yourself longing for the silence and inner activity? Or do you set a special time with an alarm that reminds you to do the exercises and healing work? How have you two moved through the years and adjusted your practices? Yeah, the point of this is, and of course it's at the beginning for sure, we don't need any bit more than 20, 30 minutes on a meditation. And really what you'll notice in the beginning, you're not trained to be able to hold your concentration. So it's better for you to be able to meditate in a very concentrated way for a short period of time than sit there for a long time and you meditate for 15 minutes, then 10 minutes you're off thinking about washing the dog or something. And then you come back and you start to do this again. You go, no, now I got to do something about my car. I got to change the oil. And then you come back to the meditation. That doesn't work. It works, but it's not as effective. It's just sitting there for 15 minutes and holding your mind on what you're doing. When you're done, stop immediately and go do something else. So as you progress further, sure, there's times for longer meditations, but when I was saying in the beginning, I mean like the first 10 years. I think you're a beginner in this system for the first 30 years, really. It's such a deep and profound system we have that we shouldn't be trying to go faster than we should. We just take it easy. Go easy. Once you get that thing where you can hold your mind for 15 minutes steady, try 20, try 30. But if you find yourself wandering off in your mind, just quit, because it's just messing it up. It's like pouring a bunch of water in a soup. It just makes it diluted. And let's see. I don't set an alarm. I just sort of follow. You kind of sense the timing of it inside. And I don't set an alarm. Oh, I see. I don't set an alarm to remember to do the exercises or healing. Actually, in the beginning, you have a time in the morning. Really, it's the best way. If you want fastest results, you do it 3 times. You can just do it once. At the end of the day, do introspection. That's one Daswellis insisted on. But in the morning, it's great to do a visualization to help energize yourself, strengthen yourself, clear yourself. Then in midday, it's good to do the same kind of visualization thing, but use it for somebody else. Do it for somebody else. Put some light around somebody that's sad or suffering in some way. Then at the end of the day, introspect on your whole day. That's all you need to do for the beginning times. But after a while, what you'll notice is, like, for example, when we do the etheric breathing, Aki's doing a bunch of good meditations on etheric breathing now. what we're doing was we're moving it through there, but after a while you'll realize you do that all the time. You stop doing it. Just you don't need to sit down and do it. You can sit down and do it for 15 minutes, but I mean, you just where I am, and I know she is too. You're just working with the etheric vitality all day long. You're sure your mind will get distracted, you'll go off, you'll forget about it, but really, it's good to breathe and take it in anytime you feel like it. In fact, you should just stop every 15 minutes and take about 3 deep breaths. That's all you need to do. But you'll discover that you're working with this etheric vitality all the time for yourself. And when you're talking with other people, you want to be giving them light and truth and love and the best you can be for them. The last part of the question is just, have we adjusted? Yeah, you always adjust. You always fine tune. A lot of times you'll go through and you'll go for years and I'm going to go back to basics. I'm going to start over.
Yes.
You please.
Yes, he made a very good point. From my side, I make meditations. And I do meditate. I do meditation 12 noon. Of course, in the morning and in the night before I sleep. But my main meditation time is the 12 noon. And I think of it like I'm like having a lunch to nourish myself. And I do same exercise every day from the different angle. But every day, 12 noon, I do it. So point here is we, as a researcher of truth, we should express the teaching and the practice in our daily life joyfully. We should not separate, just studying, just the meditation, but we can express teaching and the meditation in our daily life. So we should not make a kind of separation. This time is for spiritual work. This time is for our daily life. We should more and more express what we learned or what we practiced in our daily life. This is the highlight of this teaching. So when I create meditation, I meditate myself, of course, and put the essence of the teaching from various fields. But the most important thing is the scholar says only 15 minutes morning and night meditation works, and that's okay. Likewise, we should have some kind of pattern, like a pattern breathing, the pattern, the meditation time, pattern, regularly. We have to do it regularly. Then our subconsciousness imprint what we are doing, constantly. So, okay, today we meditate like this. Okay, next day at the same time we do the same thing. Okay, next day we do the same thing. But day by day we add some little essence, or even we repeat the same things. Subconsciousness, imprint everything, and we forget. But when we work on same meditation, for example, next day it comes back immediately. So these kind of constant repetition gives us a lot of real power, because the subconsciousness is very pure, and whatever we imprint, it preserve and present as it is. So that's why we have we'd better do the exercise regularly and use this practice what we gained in our daily life. That's the way what I'm practicing myself in my life.
Okay, we have 2 more questions. This one is from Kathy. Christ as a principle. Would you comment on the principle of Christ? Sure. I just did. When the unmanifested God makes a manifestation, whatever system, if it's Hindu, it's Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. In our system, it's God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And those each have a principle. God the Father is the total wisdom. The Holy Spirit is the total power. The Son, Christ Logos, is the total love, the total goodness of life. It is life. Jesus was the personality that was the embodiment of that incarnation or that expression, that pure expression. He did not come through a bunch of series and become smarter and more enlightened. He came to a direct, perfect ray of Logos, of God. So that's the difference between him as a personality. He carried the cross. He did all that stuff. He acted out the passion play on earth as the principle of Christ, to give us the pure example, to give us that example of what we should be doing. Nobody's going to maybe nail you to a cross, but they're certainly going to crucify you with your words. Usually people have that experience on earth. And what did he say? Forgive them, Father. They don't know what they do. What should we say? Forgive them, Father. They don't know what they're doing. They're under ignorance. They're in the darkness of illusion. So as a principle, that's what he's bringing to the earth. And when he came to the earth, he brought the sixth ray. What there's 7 rays. We won't go into that today, but he brought the sixth ray, the ray of love. Now you're going to say, well, wasn't love here before? Not pure love, not unselfish love. It wasn't here. It was about me and mine and what I get for myself. So when he came and said, not only love your neighbors as yourself, love your enemy as yourself. People, what is that? I mean, that was completely out of the blue. So that was the first embodiment of bringing that principle. Of course, people felt it, but this is the first real anchoring in of that ray of unselfish love to the earth. And she says, comment on the principle of Christ, and she has a question mark, high priest forever? It seems like a priesthood of all believers is a valid notion. A priest as a mediator between man and God. Sure, you can say Christ was a mediator between man and God. He was not a priest, but he was a mediator. And then she puts the quote he gives, I am in you and you are in me and I and the Father are one. Do you notice he didn't say I am the Father? He said the Father and I are one. So, yeah. Do you want to say something?
Try to read it. So, yes. Please continue.
Then she says, interesting that Abraham, after defeating the 5 kings, meets the king of peace, Shalom, who is a priest, a prophet, and a king. And she's rightly saying the 5 kings he defeated were the 5 senses. And as I think we had it in one of the lessons here in this Patreon about the 5 senses are the 5 murderers, because they are always taking us out, entangling us, engaging us down. As beautiful as they are, as important as they are, and as necessary as they are, they distract us from the inner self and using the inner senses, or what we call the super senses. And yeah, when you defeat all that distractions of the senses that take you out into the outer world, you find peace, of course.
Okay, yes.
Okay, last question. I'm not sure, this is from Hugo, I'm not sure how unusual it is. Snow, rain, and hail in Saudi Arabia, as well as Jerusalem. I'm wondering if the earth, the archangelic lords of the elements, and angel Shamael is, well, I want to say angry, but I realize that's not the right word. Are they trying to persuade us to reflect on our treatment of Mother Earth? Absolutely. Absolutely. And the way it works is this. Every planet, every sun, every galaxy, the central sun of every galaxy, is governed by a very, very high intelligence. We call it a planetary logos. The Greeks called Mother Earth, the being of Mother Earth, Gaia. And the physical earth is the body of this being. And one of the jobs it has is to bring about events that teach humankind lessons. So if we start to do stuff to the earth, of course there's physical things, it all can be attributed as physical things, but there is a being that determines like a disaster. It has control over a disaster. And I saw two things recently. One thing recently I saw was a cyclone, a hurricane coming in, I think it was Singapore. And it came in, it was going to just completely take out a big section of the city. And it came in and it just went and dissolved right before it hit the city. Okay, lucky phenomena, maybe, or maybe divine intelligence, the intelligence of the planetary logos. Here in Indiana, we're in a place called Tornado Alley. We get lots of tornadoes coming up in this direction from the southwest. And I've watched many videos of the aftermath of it, where you'll see a tornado just tearing apart a neighborhood, a subdivision, and then it leaves one house alone, but the rest of them are just sticks. That's an intelligence guy. Now, it's not just that guy happened to be lucky. He didn't have the karma to have that of cause and effect in their karma. So this planetary logos does change things. Right now, we're having a lot of trouble with the Earth. I don't know if you know all this, but the magnetic poles of Earth are every 800,000 years, the magnetic poles of the Earth shift. We've got many, many fossil records showing this. Right now, the magnetic poles that you think they're right above the Arctic Circle and Antarctica, it's not. This one's moved completely off of Antarctica, and this one's moving down over Russia. And you would think they would move in the opposite direction, but they're not. They're coming like that. So it's possible. It's been 800,000 years, over 800,000 years since the last pole shift. It's going to shift. This is not just like a mechanical physics thing. There's a divine intelligence behind that that's trying to give people a lesson. What's going to happen when the pole shifts? Nobody really knows, but something's going to happen for sure. And so it's like this with this cold spell, you know. So that thing, when that's happening, the whole magnosphere of the Earth, the whole magnetic protection of the Earth is weak, and we've never recorded a weaker time on Earth when this is happening. And what's happening because of that is the radiation from the sun is coming in. It's not causing global warming like they're saying, they're imagining. It's causing disruption of everything. And also what happens when we have a weak magnetic field, the cosmic rays are really bombarding Earth. And it seems very likely the cosmic rays are what's mutating life forms on Earth from the beginning. Because every time this happens, there's something changes. So it's just, no, it's not done by some, it's not just because we've put, fluorocarbons in the atmosphere. It's not because of our actions alone. It's done because of our actions, but it's not so much a physical action. It's more of a cause and effect karmic reaction to all these things. And it's trying to get our attention. It's really trying to get our attention. Are we paying attention? So the archangels are some of the workers with the planetary logos that bring these kind of phenomena into manifestation. But like I said, it's governed by an intelligence. If you're not destined to get it, you're not going to get it. But, and this is what Daswell said, it's going to happen, but it's not going to happen to everybody all at once. No, but no one person is going to have all these revelation effects. Somebody will have it. Somebody will have drought. Somebody will have famine. Somebody will have earthquakes. It's not that everybody's going to experience the same thing, but it is happening. It's clear something is really happening right now. I really would like to do a show more on this if it's permitted. But I think we really need to kind of look at things, from this perspective of what's happening on our world right now, what's happening in our governments right now. It's not some random thing. And it's not exactly what we're being told it is. So maybe one day we can do that. Would you like to do that? Let's do that one day.
Yes.
Do you have a...
Yes. with our human eyes, the personalities eye, with our personalities, self-consciousness, it might seem like a big disaster. It is so. But from the bigger scale, everything is created and maintained perfectly with law. So all what we call disaster is just cleansing and balancing. And as Daniel said, planetary logos is just love. Please, whatever happen, especially now, everything is governed by divine love, which is perfect. So all the phenomena which we see as disaster, the cause of the disaster is not by the planetary logos, or it's not like a outer cause. It's the seed is a human beings created a wrong seed, and the planetary logos try to cleanse it, to balance.
It's trying to wake us up. And I got a good example, I think, that might help you understand that. From the beginning, hospitals have been taking their needles and hospital waste and tissues and everything, all their junk, dragging it out to sea in a barge and dumping it in the sea. Been going on since the beginning of hospitals. In the 90s, I believe it was the early 90s, all of a sudden, all these hospital needles starts washing up on the shore of the East Coast. They never washed up before. Why are they washing up now? It was a big disaster. You couldn't go there. The parents were afraid their kids would get stuck with these infected needles. And it was a big concern. And then all of a sudden they thought, I know, let's stop throwing our needles in the ocean. It was done not to punish us or because they're angry. They're trying to wake us up. We're trying to wake us up that what we're doing is having an effect. And it couldn't be more true than with this COVID thing. So anyway, okay, well, we went over, but that's good for the day. Thanks for all your good questions.
Thank you very much for joining us. We really enjoyed this Q&A live show.
See you next month.
Many blessings to you.